What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to the video. Today, I'll be taking a look at the entry list for the 2024 Brickyard 400. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start talking about the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This course once again be driven by Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain had a bad week last week at Pocono where he unfortunately crashed out and is now only 27 points above the cutoff line, which is right now held 17th by Bubba Walls. He's looking for a turnaround this weekend. Trackhouse's bigger track program hasn't been amazing this year. Ross Chastain, they'll be looking for a very solid and a really strong run this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the return of the Brickyard. Up next, how about the 2 car for Team Penske? This will once again be driven by Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric has been hit or miss so far in 2024 and is looking to get Team Penske a win at a track that Roger Penske owns. He's looking for a good run this weekend, currently sits 19th in the regular season standings. He's looking for a very solid run and will be looking to get win number 2 of 2024 in his 3rd career NASCAR Cup Series win here this weekend in Indianapolis. Up next, how about the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing? This will once again be driven by Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon has struggled so far in the 2024 season. He's been running a lot of races outside the top 30 and currently sits, I believe, 31st or 32nd in the standings. RCR really doesn't have the pace or speed currently at the moment, and I'm not sure Austin Dillon is going to run well. He'll look for a good run this weekend and be looking to run up front and maybe turn the season around starting this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, how about the 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will once again be driven by Josh Berry. While Josh Berry has never ran at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in NASCAR, this 4 car has went to victory lane twice with Kevin Harvick back in 2019 and 2020. He'll be looking to get his first career Cup Series win this weekend. This 4 car's had a lot of speed. I do think that Josh Berry could be an underdog pick to pick up his first career Cup Series win this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, how about the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson did not have a great race last week in Pocono, finishing in 13th. Kyle Larson, historically, though, has been very solid at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Had one of the fastest cars in 2019. He's had a couple races where he's been a major threat. I expect Kyle Larson to be one of the favorites. Historically, the drivers that are contending for the championship tend to run up front at this track. I think Kyle Larson will have a good chance and opportunity to win this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, how about the 6 car for RFK Racing? This will once again be driven by Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski is a former winner of the Brickyard 400 back in 2018 and is looking to get his 2nd win of 2024. The RFK cars are showing a lot more pace and speed, and I do think that Brad Keselowski will have a great chance and opportunity to pick up his 2nd win in 2024 and his 2nd ever Brickyard 400 win and victory. Up next, how about the 7 car for Spire Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Corey LaJoie. We could see Corey LaJoie receive penalties in the coming days for what happened at Pocono, but LaJoie is looking to turn the season around. It's been a struggling year since 31st in the standings, and it really needs to get the season turned around quickly. I don't expect much from Corey this weekend. I think he's probably going to be the worst performing Spire car this weekend. I think he likely will unfortunately struggle this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, how about the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing? This will once again be driven by Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has won the Brickyard 400 twice, but this year has been a complete struggle for this A team. Kyle Busch is sitting 19th in the regular season standings, or 18th in the regular season standings, and the last 2 weeks have not gone well for him. He's already probably ready to get out of 2024. We could see a turnaround, but he crashed the test earlier this year. I don't expect much from Kyle. I think he will sadly struggle this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, how about the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott is looking for his first ever Brickyard 400 win and is looking to do what his father did back in 2002 when he won the Brickyard 400. Chase Elliott is looking to get it done this weekend, looking to get his 2nd win of the year. I expect Chase Elliott to be a major threat and contender. He is now the regular season points leader. He'll be looking to get his 2nd win and his 20th career Cup Series win this weekend at Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400 with the 19. Up next, how about the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will once again be driven by Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson started this year off in a very impressive way, but it seems like as of late, this 10 team has been extremely inconsistent. I think Noah Gragson could have a turnaround because his 10 car, when Eric Almirola drove for, which he's returning in Xfinity, by the way, I do think that Noah Gragson could have a decent run, but I don't expect him to set the world on fire. I think he does okay, but I don't think he'll be a major contender for the win this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, out the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin is looking for his first Brickyard 400 win, and I think he's going to have a really good chance to get it done. He's been very consistent this year. He's currently in the top 4 in the standings right now, and Hamlin has been very close many times to winning the Brickyard 400. Nearly won it in 2020, but unfortunately had a flat tire near the end of the race. I think Denny Hamlin is going to have a really strong chance and a really great opportunity to get his first ever Brickyard 400 win and victory. Up next, up the 12th car for Team Penske. This will once again be driven by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is coming off picking up a second win in the last 5 races this past weekend at Pocono and is looking to get his second straight victory this weekend at the Brickyard 400. Ryan Blaney has been actually pretty solid the couple years we've ran at the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis, and I do think Ryan Blaney will have a really great chance and opportunity to get another win this weekend. We've seen the speed from the Penske cars show up as of late and recent. He'll be looking to pick up a second straight win, his 3rd win of the season, and his 13th career NASCAR Cup Series win. Up next, up with the 14 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. This will once again be driven by Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe is driving the number of a famous driver when Tony Stewart, who of course won the Brickyard 400 in 2005 and 2007. He's looking to get a second career Cup Series win this weekend. I do think Briscoe could have a decent performance. He's very close to being in the playoffs right now, has a really good chance to get it done, and he'll be looking to get a second career NASCAR Cup Series win this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing. This will once again be driven by Cody Ware, who will make his second straight Cup Series start this weekend. Not a big fan of this move. I do think Cody Ware will do not that great. I know he finished 26th at Pocono, but I expect Cody Ware to be near the back of the pack all weekend long. I wish someone like maybe someone else out the side like a Matt Benedetto, or maybe someone could have thought of maybe Deegan, though I don't think she's ready for Cup at this point. But we will see Cody Ware behind the wheel of the 15 car this weekend. Up next, up with the 16 car for Colleague Racing. This will once again be driven by AJ Allmendinger, who will make his 3rd consecutive, or I think 4th consecutive, actually, NASCAR Cup Series start. AJ Allmendinger will be looking to get his first win of the season. He actually won near Indianapolis, but on the road course back in 2021. The call cars have struggled this year. Shane Van Gisbergen is really the only driver who's gotten in the 16 car who's been contending for wins and victories in Cup the few times he's ran in it. I think AJ will have an okay performance, but I don't expect him to set the world on fire. I think there will be some struggles coming his way. Up next, up with the 17 car for RFK Racing. This will once again be driven by Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher comes into this weekend looking to win and trying to make sure that he doesn't have to worry about the playoff bubble going into the next couple off weeks, because there's a couple off weeks coming up. He's looking for his first win of the season. The RFK cars have shown some pretty good pace or speed. I do think that Chris Buescher has a decent chance and opportunity to maybe get his first win of the year. I think the pace and speed will be there for Chris Buescher this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. has been close to winning the Brickyard 400 times in the past and is looking to get his first career Brickyard 400 victory. He's been close to getting it done. I think Truex, with the speed that JGR has shown on the bigger ovals, though the engine failures have been there, I do think Martin Truex Jr. will have a solid chance and opportunity to win his first ever Brickyard 400 in 2024. Up next, up with the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Christopher Bell. Chris Bell's coming off a very quiet week. He ran outside the top 10 majority of the event and didn't show the pace or speed at Pocono. But Chris Bell's been one of the hottest drivers so far in the summer, and he's looking to get his 4th win of 2024 and his 10th career NASCAR Cup Series victory. I think Chris Bell is going to have a really good chance and opportunity. I already mentioned this, but the drivers that have been fast all year are going to be threats. I think Chris Bell has a good chance and opportunity to have a very solid run this weekend. Up next, up with the 21 car for the Wood Brothers. This will once again be driven by Harrison Burton, who will make his first ever Brickyard 400 start and could be his last for a while, as of course he won't be back in the 21 car after this season concludes. He'll probably be back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's looking for a turnaround run. It's been a struggle this year for Harrison Burton. Unfortunately, I don't expect much from Harrison. I think he will sadly struggle this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in that 21 car. Up next, up with the 22 car for Team Penske. This will once again be driven by Joey Logano. Joey Logano quietly has been really having a turnaround this season. Picked up the win in Nashville a couple weekends ago and is looking to get his second win in the last 4 races. Team Penske's been really quick as of late. Joey Logano looks to get his first ever Brickyard 400 win. I think he's got a good chance and opportunity to get it done this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 23 car for 2311 Racing. This will once again be driven by Bubba Walls. Bubba Wallace has been turning around the corner over the course of the last few weeks. He finished 7th in Nashville, finished 13th at Chicago, and finished 10th at Pocono. He's looking to get his first career cup win, his first ever Brickyard 400 win. He's been actually solid at Indianapolis in the past. I do think Bubba Wallace has a good chance and opportunity to contend maybe for a top 5 or top 10 this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This one once again be driven by William Byron. William Byron is trying to get something continued going. In 1994, Jeff Gordon won the Brickyard. 2004, Jeff Gordon won. In 2014, Jeff Gordon won. He's trying to keep the streak going where Hendrick Motorsports wins in every 4 year. I think William Byron's got a good chance and opportunity to get it done. I think the pace and speed will be there, and I do think this 24 car will be up front contending for the win this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, up with the 31 car for Kaulig Racing. This will once again be driven by Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick has had a very struggling year so far in 2024. Granted, he's had 2 or 3 top 10 finishes, but it's unclear at this point if Daniel Hemrick is going to still be in this car for 2025. He does have sponsorship, which will help him a little bit, but I'm not sure if it's going to keep him in the seat for next year. We'll see what happens, but he's looking to turn around and have a great run this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway into 31. Up next, how about the 33 car for Richard Childress Racing? Yes, Richard Childress Racing is bringing back the 3rd car for, I believe, the 5th or 6th time this year, and Ty Dillon will make his first start with RCR in 2024, which I think is the first time in a long time we've seen Ty Dillon drive an RCR car. I think Ty Dillon's going to struggle, unfortunately, this weekend. This car has been struggling in the races it has ran. We've seen drivers like Will Brown and Austin Hill drive the seat. I don't expect much from the 33 car this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I expect some struggles to come their way. Up next, up with the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Michael McDowell. While Michael McDowell did win at this track last year, it, of course, was on the road course. He does have the same sponsorship with Horizon Hobby sponsoring, but Michael McDowell might, unfortunately, end up struggling because the Fords have been down a little bit on performance and horsepower. McDowell looks for a really strong run this weekend and look to get his first ever Brickyard 400 win and his 3rd career NASCAR Cup Series win this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, up with the 38 car for Front Row Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Todd Gillen. Todd Gillen is looking for a turnaround weekend after last week at Pocono, where unfortunately he had a brake rotor failure and hit the outside wall. Before that, he had been extremely consistent, had 9 or 10 consecutive top 20 finishes. He's looking for a great turnaround this weekend. I think this 38 team is really starting to get that Tier 1 support, and I think they're showing up a lot more on the track. Todd Gillen looks for a good run and looks to get his first ever Cup Series win this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 41 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. This will once again be driven by Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece has struggled immensely throughout the 2024 season and is still looking for a ride going into 2025 and probably won't be full-time in Cup unless he goes to Rick Ware Racing. He's looking for a great run this weekend, trying to find a way to get a job for 2025. He looks for a great run this weekend in the number 41 car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, up with the 42 car for Legacy Motor Club. This will once again be driven by John Hunter Nemechek. Now, John Nemechek was pretty good here when he drove for Chip Ganassi Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but has not raced at this track since 2020. He's looking for a great run this weekend in the number 42 car, looking to help Legacy continue their turnaround after they have new people coming in and executives joining this team. He looks for a great run and looks to help Legacy continue to build up their program. Up next, how about the 43 car for Legacy Motor Club? This will once again be driven by Eric Jones. Eric Jones has been extremely hit or miss at this racetrack over the course of the last couple of years. Not just on the oval, but the road course as well. He's looking for a really good run this weekend. Had a pretty solid run actually at Pocono where he finished in 14th and ran in the top 5 and top 10 a majority of the day. I think Eric Jones will do decent. I don't expect him to go out and contend for the victory, but I do think Eric Jones could have a solid performance this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, up with the 45 car for 2311 Racing. This will once again be driven by Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is one of the early favorites going into the weekend because I already mentioned some of the top drivers, but the drivers contending for the championship are probably going to be up front. We also know 2311 is looking to have a 3rd car for 2025. Maybe like Herbert Scarlett can drive it or Riley Herbst can drive it. Who knows at this point? But Tyler Reddick is looking to get his first Brickyard 400 win and get Rich Childress Racing their first Brickyard win since I believe since Kevin Harvick back in 2003. Up next, up with the 47 car for JTG Doherty Racing. This will once again be driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has been very hit or miss at this racetrack in the past, has also been involved in a lot of incidents and a lot of crashes as well. I do think Stenhouse could have a decent run. They've had some decent performances as of late, but I'm not sure if JTG will be contending for the win. We'll see what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. can do in the 47 car this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Alex Bowman. While Alex Bowman has never won the Brickyard 400, the 48 car has gone to victory lane 4 times at this track. And he's looking to get his first Brickyard 400 win and his second win in the last 3 weeks. He's really turned a corner and is starting to turn slowly but surely into a championship contender. I think he's going to have a good chance and an opportunity to win. And it wouldn't surprise or shock me if he gets his second win of 2024 this weekend at Indianapolis. Up next, up with the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing. This will once again be driven by Justin Haley. Justin Haley has been overachieving in this car throughout the 2024 season, and we know he'll be back in this car next year in 2025. He's looking for a fantastic run to get Rick Ware Racing maybe their first ever win. I'm not expecting that this weekend, but I do think that Justin Haley will do a really solid job in the 51 car for sure this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, up with the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs has had a very decent year so far, but he's kind of fallen a little bit close to that playoff bubble after unfortunately having engine failure with around 30 laps to go in the race. Luckily, so many drivers fell out of the race, he didn't lose as many points as he probably could have. He's looking for a turnaround run and is looking to get his first career Cup Series win in victory. I think he's got a good chance and opportunity to get it done this year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, how about the 66 car for NBM Motorsports? Yes, his team is coming back for this weekend, and BJ McLeod is going to be the driver. He'll be doing double duty as he's going to be driving a 13 for NBM with the Falling in Reverse sponsorship, if I'm not mistaken, and he'll be doing double duty with NBM. He won't have to worry about qualifying into both races. BJ looks for a very good run, though I don't expect much from the team. I don't think he'll be contending for the win, unfortunately, this weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Up next, up with the 71 car for Spire Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Zane Smith. This 71 team is really starting to turn the corner. The pace and speed seems to be there, and Zane Smith is running up front a lot more. He qualified for the first time in the top 10 last week, and I think that Zane Smith, who's probably looking for a job going to 2025 with SVG likely getting the 3rd seat going into next year for Trackhouse, he'll look for a great run. If he can run well this week in Indianapolis, I could see him maybe getting a good ride for 2025. Up next, up with the 77 car for Spire Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar has been overachieving in this equipment so far in the 2025-4 season and is looking to build that into a great run at Indianapolis. He's done a great job so far this year, and I think Carson Hocevar will be a solid threat and contender for maybe a top 10 or top 15. I think the speed's going to be there in the pace, and I think Carson and the Spire team are beginning to show a lot more performance later in the year. Up next, how about the 84 car for Legacy Motor Club? This will once again be driven by Jimmy Johnson, who I think makes his 5th Cup Series start of his 8 or 9 scheduled starts for 2024. It's been a struggle for Jimmy Johnson this year. I expected more in the select starts he's ran. He's actually been doing commentary, I believe, for the Brickyard 400 this weekend with NBC, if I'm not mistaken, which I think is going to be really exciting. And I do think Jimmy will do a solid job, hopefully, this weekend behind the wheel. We'll see if he can turn around. Historically, he's been great at Indianapolis with 4 victories, but I don't think he'll be a major threat for the win this weekend. And finally, let's talk about the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing. This, of course, will be driven by Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez is currently sitting 17th in his standings, which is better than I thought he was going to be running so far this year, but he has only had 3 or 4 top 10s altogether. Daniel Suarez also is expected to sign a contract extension in the next couple weeks, as we are expecting a decision from the organization very, very soon. We are expecting Daniel Suarez maybe have a decent run. He looks to do a really good job this weekend in the 2024 Brickyard 400. He's looking to get his second win, of 2024. So, that is the intros for the 2024 Brickyard 400. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Links go below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's video. What are your thoughts about the intros? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. There will be a Truck Series Race Picks video later today for IRP. Tomorrow on the channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video dropping for news over the course of the last couple days. And also have the NASCAR Xfinity Series Race Picks as well. Thursday, we're going to have Cup Series race picks dropping, and we're also going to have the paint scheme video dropping as well. Friday, we'll likely have a NASCAR news video. If not, there'll likely be a silly season update dropping, but probably won't have one until the next week after that. There's also going to be 100 greatest NASCAR Cup drivers dropping on later of next week as well. Got a ton of great content that I cannot wait for you guys to check out. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.